A land speed record ends in tragedy after the crash of Frank Lockhart. 1928 was the year of the greatest land speed record battle in race history. The contestants were as diverse as the vehicles they drove in a 3-month struggle for supremacy at Daytona Beach. First contender to arrive was Britain's captain, Malcolm Campbell, a slender, middle-aged millionaire sportsman. He tried to regain the world land speed record from his arch-rival, Henry Segrave, who had beaten him the previous year. Next to arrive at Daytona Beach was Frank Lockhart, a youngster whose looks and shy manner belied the fact that at age 25, he had risen from the grime and dust of jalopy, racing becoming one of the American track aces. A great driver indeed, but it was Lockhart's inborn mechanical genius that brought him to Daytona Beach. Unlike the huge Campbell's Bluebird with its Napier aircraft engine, Lockhart's 2,800-pound vehicle was low, narrow, and sleek. Fitted with a 16-cylinder engine, 2 banks of 8 cylinders set at an included angle of 30 degrees, aided by 2 superchargers having an only 181 cubic inch displacement, capable of incredible RPMs producing over 500 horsepower. The complete car, including the unusual power plant, was produced by Lockhart himself. Although painted gleaming white, it had been named the Stutz Black Hawk Special, after the company which sponsored the project to the tune of $50,000 thanks to Stutz Motor Car Company sales manager Frederick Moskowitz. Unfortunately for Lockhart, costs far exceeded that original estimate, and he was deeply in debt before his first run. Bluebird and Blackhawk were soon joined by a third challenger, the big crude-looking white triplex. The owner was Jim White, a wealthy Philadelphia contractor who fitted a chassis of steel railroad track rails with 3 Liberty aircraft engines. No one had been named to drive this weird monster, and there was doubt that one would be found. Thousands of visitors flocked to Daytona to get a look at the machinery and to watch practice runs on the rough and unsuitable sands. While practicing, Malcolm Campbell's Bluebird slightly crashed after bounding high in the air, fortunately damaging only body panels, with the driver uninjured. On 19 February 1928, he was ready to run, and managed to tie 2 runs together for a new world record of 206.96 miles per hour. 3 days later, Frank Lockhart gave the officials his go signal. The beach was in better shape, but the weather was still poor. Short of funds, Lockhart just couldn't wait any longer. The screaming Black Hawk emerged from heavy mist, veered and hit a soft spot and flipped into the air. It landed right side up in the offshore surf. Lockhart was hauled out by spectators who ran into the ocean. One jumped on the car and shielded the injured driver's face. Aside from the near drowning and deep wrist laceration, driver and car came out of the mishap relatively unharmed. Campbell visited his young rival in the hospital, then he departed for England. Meanwhile, Jim White had signed up Ray Keach for the seat of the triplex. It was a quiet seat, located between the front engine and the 2 in the rear, right in the center of more machinery and horsepower than ever before assembled on one chassis. The 3 V12 engines added up to a total of 5,000 cubic inches. Keach ran hundreds of practice miles up and down the beach. Finally, on 22nd April 1928, all the triplex's 36 cylinders ran in unison, and an elated Keach managed 2 successive tries for a 207.55 miles per hour average, only half a mile an hour faster than Campbell. Good enough to bring the world land speed record back to America. But the tournament was still not over. Frank Lockhart was back, his wounds healed, and also the Black Hawk once again was prepared. He had carefully figured the proper gear ratio, and on the now smooth beach, he was confident of 225 miles per hour. Despite meticulous preparation, it was Lockhart's haste and carelessness in one detail that brought disaster. Campbell, old enough to be Lockhart's father and fond of the young American, had given him good advice. He especially cautioned Lockhart to replace all tires after each run, but this counsel went unheeded. After a first successful run, anxious to go again, Lockhart was assured by mechanics that tires appeared good, and he decided not to change them. On the return attempt, at a speed of approximately 220 miles per hour, greater than anyone had traveled before, the rear tire blew just before entering the measured mile, probably on a seashell. The engine screeched out of control. The white Blackhawk catapulted sideways in a thudding, 100-foot series of rolls. It tumbled violently across the sand, throwing Lockhart from the car, killing him instantly. The car finally came to rest down the beach, with Lockhart's lifeless body several feet from where the car stopped. This was the end of Frank Lockhart, the Black Hawk, and the 3-month battle for world speed supremacy. At 7:59 on Wednesday morning, April 25, 1928, shortly after his 25th birthday, the career of one of America's most talented drivers and ingenious builder of racing creations had come to a shocking stop. This tragedy was devastating to the Stutz Motor Car Company, which declared a halt to all its racing activities. Frank Lockhart was inducted in the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame in the first class in 1990. He was inducted in the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 1999.